Hi everyone, today I'm going to be taking you guys through another metric we can maybe use to take a look at whether Trump will be re-elected or not. Obviously right now the favorite is Joe Biden in this presidential race. In fact, I can go ahead and take a look at that for you. Um, Maybe not. Alright, but let's just take a look at this. So pretty much what I've done here, and with the help of this website here from 538 uh, here, so I've taken a look at the day 1250, what Trump's approval rating is 41.1, and what each of the past presidents' approval rating has been. So for example, Obama was 47.7. Oh no, sorry, I did it with net approval. Sorry. So Obama was at plus 0.8, Trump is at minus 14.3. Obama was viewed more favorably than President Trump. So Obama was plus 0.8. So Obama's here plus 0.8, and he was indeed re-elected with 51.06% of the popular vote. So that's just an example. And we're pretty much taking a look at how reliable it is in terms of approval rating at this point compared to re-election odds. So, right, so instead of ordering it by when they were first elected, when their re-election is, so 2020 Trump would be at the top, um, and Truman would be right at the bottom. But instead, what I've done is I've ordered it by their net approval at day 1250. So that is today, like day 1250. So Eisenhower, for example, was at plus 54.8. We can check that over with the 538 graphs. So if we go ahead over to Eisenhower, at day 1250, he was at plus 54.8, which obviously matches up with this plus 54.8. He was indeed re-elected with 57.37% of the popular vote. And you go down you go down the line here. Nixon with 30.9%, Reagan 21.8, Johnson 21.1, Clinton 17.6, Obama 0.8, Bush negative 0.5, and then Truman negative 5.9. Truman was the president with the lowest approval rating of when since 538 has been collecting approval ratings since 1945. Before then, there wasn't really much reliable polling. So Truman was at minus 5.9. He was indeed re-elected. And so Trump is sitting here right in the middle, right between Truman, who was re-elected, and Bush Sr., who was not re-elected. So this, to me, would indicate that this is sort of a toss-up situation. However, if you go ahead and take a look, 19.6 minus 13.8, that's obviously less than 13.8 and 5.9. In fact, we can go ahead and take a look at that. 13.8 minus 5.9. Oh, sorry, I have to put the equals here. Is 7.9. So you could say, Trump is sort of closer to the Bush senior margin than where Truman was. And I would definitely say that's correct. And even with Truman, he only barely won his re-election. So this would sort of point to the race being like a toss-up, maybe slightly leaning towards Biden actually winning. An important note, there's a few notes here, Ford and Kennedy. So if we take a look, obviously Kennedy was shot, so he was at plus 28.4 at day 1035, and then he was obviously unfortunately shot at. But then also we've got Ford here. So Ford, this one's interesting because Ford's approval line just sort of stops, and I believe that's because his election day was around here, and that's because he took over from Richard Nixon, who resigned the presidency. So he sort of started at plus 68.0, and then he sort of falls down and is sort of average line. But but for the sake of it, I'm not going to include Ford and Kennedy's approvals in this map. Right, so here you can clearly see, and just a few more notes here, just quickly. In terms of Clinton's margin, his was plus 17.6, but his popular vote margin is sort of a bit of an outlier, but that's because Ross Perot ran in 1996 as well as 1992. A lot of people forget he also ran in 1996 with less success, but he did, and that took away obviously mostly from Bush, but also some from Clinton. All right, so but you can clearly see a pattern here, right? The net approvals at this day is a pretty good indicator. If you're above, like at least above 15 points, it's a pretty good indicator you're going to be re-elected. If you're sort of within that +5 to -10 margin, it's sort of a toss up, and if it's more than sort of 15 or so, it's a pretty good indicator you might not be in a very good spot for re-election unless something drastically changes. So Carter and Bush Sr., obviously with bad net approvals, did not get re-elected, so obviously the margin is not applicable for them. But so what does this say about Trump? Well, I just did the math, and Trump is closer to the Bush Sr. Approval than the Truman approval. It's I would say right now Trump is an underdog for re-election, just based on purely based on this. Trump, I would say, is a narrow underdog. If you also take into account all the polls, let's just go ahead and take a look at that real quick. Going on to the 538 map. Here we go. So I was just taking a look at that. So if you take a look here, when you look at a swing state, let's say Arizona up here, you can see Biden's sort of getting in a bit of a lead here. Biden plus 1, plus 4, plus 1, 4, plus 2, plus 4, and then one poll has Trump up. But anyway, that's not the point of this. I just wanted to take a look here at Trump's approval versus his re-election odds, and right now it seems that if you just took net approval, you could actually make an argument for it to be sort of a 50-50 race, because he is in between the Bush Sr. and Truman. But Truman, yes, he was underwater by -5.9. But if you take a look at Truman's election, he just barely scraped by his election. So again, so you could make an argument you sort of need to be within that -7, -8. Whereas for Bush Sr., he was at almost -20, and he just got absolutely destroyed when he tried to run for re-election against Bill Clinton. So maybe you can put another note here: narrow win in Electoral College, and destroyed in Electoral College. So you could make that argument, and I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. And so it's not like both of these people won, like Bush lost 268, 270, and then Truman won 270, 268, right? This was sort of quite the case for Truman. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but it was it was a really close race, whereas Bush Sr. was like 400 or something. So yeah, so I'm going to say, based on this, Trump is definitely an underdog for re-election. But yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching, and good night.